Welcome, dear friends. Before we step into today's quiet unveiling, let us pause just a moment by the light of last week's memory. Miss Celestine Marrowby stood before us in her golden trim and berry ribbon, the picture of grace wrapped in lace and strategy. And now the thread continues. Today we meet those who work the hearth, carry the sea, pour the ale, and harvest the hush between crow call and sunset. These are Bellewood's other daughters, less polished, perhaps, but just as eternal. They are the quiet people, part of my primitive collection. They come holding apples, carrying crows, lifting fish from shore and tankards from taverns. Let your eyes soften. Let the old world rise up. This is not just a collection of portraits. This is remembrance. This is reimagining. This is Bellewood. Daughter of the shore. She's a primitive folk art portrait with fish and net. She comes from tide and toil, not a lady of leisure, but a gatherer of sustenance, a keeper of nets, a wader through sea foam with steady hands. In the hush of early morning along the shores of golden colonial New England, women walked to the beach, not for pleasure, but with purpose. They caught, carried, salted, and stored. Fish wasn't simply food, it was survival. It was the barter, the offering, the proof of one's place in the rhythm of tide and trade. This portrait, quiet and powerful, honors that legacy. The fish in her hand is more than catch. It's symbol of resourcefulness, of ancestral knowledge, of a life lived in relationship with water. The net she holds is empty, but not for long. She is not waiting for help. She knows how to fill it. Hang her in your home not as an ornament, but as presence, a reminder of women whose stories rarely made it to the shorelines of history, though they were there all along. The Inkeepers Welcome, the primitive folk art portrait of a woman with a tankard and inn sign. She doesn't ask your name before she hands you the tankard. She already knows it, or maybe she knows something more important, what weariness looks like, what comfort tastes like. In early American towns, the inn was more than shelter. It was the flickering center of connection, story, and sustenance. And behind its hearth, more often than remembered, stood women like her, keepers of bread and beer, news and nuance, women who held the space without asking for praise. This portrait pays tribute to her. Her eyes are not boastful, they are knowing. Her tankard is not for show, it's for service. And her sign does more than mark a building. It invites you in, the way history sometimes does, quietly. Let her grace your home as a symbol of hospitality, strength, and feminine stewardship. A quiet toast to the hands that built community, from stew pots and cider kegs. Autumn Harvest, a primitive folk art portrait of a woman with apples. She stood in the orchard's hush, the weight of harvest in her arms. Each apple is a quiet sermon in red, on patience, on toil, on grace. In early America, the apple was far more than fruit. It was currency, comfort, and covenant, a symbol of labor's reward, domestic abundance, and the turning wheel of seasons. To plant an orchard was to believe in tomorrow. To gather its fruit was to know the blessing of enough. This portrait, rooted in the primitive style of early American folk art, honors that legacy. A woman, steady and composed, holds a basket of apples beneath a tree that seems to grow from memory itself. Her eyes meet yours, not in sorrow, nor joy, but quiet knowing. She is not a decorative figure. She is a keeper of something sacred. Let her grace your wall, a reminder that beauty, like the apple, is often born from soil and struggle, and best shared. Finally, we go to Keeper of the Harvest, a primitive portrait of a woman holding a crow. In her arms, the crow rests, not caged, not caught, but honored, a companion of the fields, a watcher of what falls and rises again. In the old world, and the early American one too, the crow was a paradox, a harbinger, a scavenger, a keeper of stories no one else dared carry. It flew over fields at dusk, alerting the farmer, the child, the widow, the wanderer. In its black wings, the past and future folded like a secret. This portrait honors that folklore. Here, a woman stands at the center of a harvest dream, surrounded by pumpkins, sunflowers, and the growing hush of autumn. She holds the crow not in fear, but in trust. She is the watchwoman, the wise one, the calm at the heart of seasonal change. Display her in your home as a symbol of intuition, transformation, and ancestral grace. She does not scream for attention. She listens, and somehow, in her stillness, teaches the rest of us to do the same. And so we close the pages of today's portrait journal, but Bellewood never ends, not really. It lingers in the hush of candlelight and the rustle of linen and the steady hands of women who carried more than they ever said. Thank you for spending this quiet time with me. If a face or a symbol stayed with you, I hope it finds a place in your home or in your heart. Until next time, may your days be gentle, your stories well told, and your walls filled with meaning. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you feel moved. Your presence here helps keep Bellewood blooming.